Yo, 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 yo. So LeBron is officially a Philadelphia 76er. After what's felt like centuries, which has really only been the past few weeks, he's made what he's claimed is his last decision. Now, I cannot lie and say this came out of the blue because it's pretty known who the teams were that had the highest likelihood of being able to get him, which were the Cavs, Heat, and of course the 76ers. But regardless of that, it's still setting in with me that LeBron really isn't Philly, which by the way is probably the best choice out of the options ever known because even though this is not a perfect fitting roster, they are just straight up the most talented out of the three. This also means we can see LeBron finally fully buy into being a superstar role player with the majority of ball handling responsibilities being split between Maxi and JB. But this isn't new. We've seen him wanting to embrace that role, but whether it's due to injuries or just not enough talent around him, he's constantly asked to be the LeBron of old. Now, for Philly fans, y'all have to be over the moon about this because this is probably the craziest low risk, high reward situation I've seen. Because you just employed a top 25 player in the world on a vet minimum, which is probably the best value contract in the league just off of my head. Also, a quick side note, it's also really interesting how this is not guaranteed to be Brown's last year in the league, as his contract has a player option in the second year. I really do think this is his last contract that he will ride out, so he have a max of 2 years of LeBron left, so I'm assuming regardless of what happens within these next 2 years, he's gonna call it a career after. Unless he wins it the first year, which I can definitely see him retiring after, which I can't really blame him for. But back to LeBron being a Sixer. I always thought it would be the best situation out of the options for a plethora of reasons. Like with the Heat, I really do feel like the offense would be super clunky with there being practically no spacing and not really any perimeter shot creation either. And in the universe where LeBron did end up with the Heat, their three best players would not be great shooters, with the majority of their offense coming from the floater area or directly at the basket, even with the defense being elite, with him having Davion Mitchell as a point of attack defender, with Giannis and Bam likely roaming to protect the rim. I just feel like it wouldn't be an optimal situation for LeBron, which also would have had to play out of position in the time he shared the floor with Giannis and Bam. And with Cleveland, even though they are the better fit than the Heat, the talent difference on the roster compared to the Sixers is just night and day. And this is supposedly strictly a basketball move, which doesn't make sense because if it was, he would be a Spur, but whatever. The goal for LeBron is getting another ring before he retires, and Philly gives him a better shot at that, on top of LeBron supposedly not wanting to play alongside James Harden. So the answer was likely always the Sixers, which, can you really blame him? I do. He should have been a Spur. But even though he should have been a Spur, the Sixers are still a great choice. I mean, they do have Tyrese Maxey, who's one of the most electric guards in the NBA, on top of him being a great slasher and one of the best shooters in the NBA on or off the ball. They also have VJ Edgecombe, who had a pretty good rookie year, whose potential is off the charts, and someone I'm confident who will only get better, especially with LeBron's veteran presence. And a top 5 MVP candidate just last year in Jaylen Brown, who's one of the most physically imposing slashers and defenders at the wing position, who by the way is also a more than capable shooter and shot creator, who led an overachieving Celtics team to the number 2 seed and proved many people wrong who didn't think he could do it. Yes, I was one of them. And on top of all of that, they also have Joel Embiid, who's a former MVP, who, mind you, is no longer the player he once was due to injuries. But even as he is now, he's a player capable of averaging nearly 30 in the playoffs, spearheading his team to a 3-1 comeback against the 2 seed led by his now teammate Jaylen Brown just last year. I just cannot wait to see this team's offense, because it is so interesting with Joel Embiid and LeBron likely having the opportunity to both be used as playmaking hubs, with three insanely athletic players who are really good off ball that can be used to get 3-point looks or shots at the basket. Needless to say, this is going to be an extremely fun offense to watch, and I'm very excited to see what Nick Nurse cooks up. And even defensively, even though I do think that his team is flawed as they are missing some size, and it would help to have a truly elite point of attack defender, LeBron and Jaylen Brown are both capable switch defenders, as well as VJ and Maxey having shown that they can be capable on that end, who I also expect to bind defensively with less ball handling duties, and after all that, they also have Embiid's big body anchoring the paint. Now, how the Sixers scale to the rest of the NBA with LeBron, I'm not very sure. But if I had to give a take, I do think that they're very much capable of being the best team in the East this upcoming year, and maybe even coming out on top. But that is not at all guaranteed, with the East low-key having a resurgence these past few years, with the Knicks just coming off of a championship run. The Pacers coming back healthy, and in my opinion, better than they were when they made their finals run. I expect the Celtics to still be a great team even with losing Jaylen Brown. Even the Pistons, who just turned their franchise around and are definitely going to be competitive, even though I'm not fully sure where I stand with them with the whole Durant situation and what's going on over there. Then there are even some teams where I have no real clue where they stand but could cause genuine threats, like the Cavs, the Raptors, assuming Kawhi ends up getting traded there because the situation is still underway, and the Heat, who I still haven't fully decided how to feel about. And out west, I still do think that Oklahoma and San Antonio are currently the best teams in the league, especially healthy, and will probably beat them if they were a 76ers finals matchup if they did make it that far. But honestly, I don't know anything because I thought the Spurs were going to win the Six last year, and we all saw how that turned out. But yeah, those are all my thoughts on the LeBron stuff, at least for right now. Go ahead and like, comment all your thoughts, any rebuttals that you may have had for anything I said. I'm always open to conversation. And subscribe. This is also my first video, so if you have any pointers on what I could do better or on anything you'd personally like to see me do, I'll definitely hear you out. So, yeah, see y'all later. Be safe.